David Miller, a farmer living near Kruger National Park, returned to his farm after a week's rest. His old excavator sat quietly by the edge of his field, covered in a layer of dry, hardened dirt. He started the machine, the sound of the engine echoing across the vast land bordering the Kruger Nature Reserve. The morning sun beat down on the dry, cracked fields, the heat making him sweat continuously. David began digging a long trench, intending to build a fence to protect his livestock from the surrounding wildlife. The soil was scooped up layer by layer, falling to the sides, forming a deep, long trench. The surrounding space was quiet, except for the sound of the engine and the wind blowing across the dry fields. David focused on the controls, his calloused hands gripping the steering wheel tightly, his eyes fixed on the work. In his heart, he only hoped to finish soon so he could return to his family. But that seemingly peaceful morning was the beginning of an unforgettable experience. While digging, David suddenly heard a faint sound coming from the trench ahead. He immediately stopped the machine, his heart beating fast, trying to listen to make sure it was not the machine. It was a tired, hoarse moan, at first sounding like a wounded wild cat. David stepped down from the machine, approached the edge of the trench, his eyes strained to examine. In the dusty soil, he noticed the thin figure of a large animal. Coming closer, he was stunned to realize that it was an exhausted lion, emaciated to the bone. Its yellow fur was covered in dirt, its body was just skin and bones. It breathed weakly, its trembling legs gently scratching at the dry, cracked soil. David felt his heart ache, as if he was witnessing life fading before his eyes. He thought that the lion had probably been trapped for many days, without food, without water. He knelt down, his hands shaking as he reached out, hoping for some response. When he heard a small groan, David knew he had to act immediately. David quickly took his old phone from his pocket and dialed the number for the Kruger Rangers. His voice trembled as he described the dire state of the dying lion. On the other end of the line, the Rangers assured him that they would arrive within 30 minutes. David hung up, his heart filled with worry, his eyes still fixed on the poor animal. He took off his jacket, shielding himself from the harsh sunlight that was burning his thin body. Each second seemed endless, each groan making his heart ache more. He blamed himself for taking a week off, leaving the trench unfinished and trapping the lion. Perhaps if he hadn't taken a long break, he would have discovered the lion much sooner. Sitting down on the edge of the trench, David prayed that help would arrive before it was too late. In his heart, the fear that it would die before being rescued made him choke. The sound of the car from afar made David happily stand up, waving his hands. Two rangers, Samuel Kumalo and Jacob Blamini, quickly got out, carrying a rescue bag. They approached, their eyes tense when they saw the skinny lion lying in the ditch. Samuel knelt down to check the heart rate, his face slightly worried at the state of exhaustion. They concluded that the lion had probably been stuck here for 5 days. Jacob said softly, "No need for anesthesia, it is so weak that it has no strength to fight back." David heard this, feeling both relieved and heartbroken at the harsh truth. The two rangers quickly discussed a rescue plan, not wasting any more time. Samuel turned to remind David to put up barriers during construction to avoid accidents for people and animals. David bowed his head, guiltily promising never to repeat this mistake again. They prepared the rope and thick cloth, ready to lift the lion out of the ditch. The atmosphere was tense, every movement was careful to the smallest detail. David stood by, his heart pounding, silently praying that the fragile life would be saved. Samuel held the front legs, Jacob held the back legs, together they worked together to lift the skinny lion. David helped tighten the rope, his hands trembling but determined not to let go of the chance to save it. Little by little, the heavy but exhausted body was lifted out of the dry, cracked ditch. Sweat rolled down all three of their foreheads, their breathing was rapid in the tense, suffocating moment. The lion opened its eyes weakly, then closed them again, letting out a long breath. They placed it on the thick cloth, covered it with a blanket to keep its body temperature. Carefully, they carried it to the truck, preparing to take it away immediately. David breathed a sigh of relief, his eyes filled with a faint hope. The car started, dust rising as it left the farm. David stood still, watching, praying that the lion would survive. The car arrived at a small veterinary station near Kruger National Park, where a team of doctors was ready. The lion was transferred to the emergency room, bright white lights shining down on its exhausted body. The doctor did a thorough examination, his face tense with severe malnutrition. The conclusion: it was severely dehydrated and exhausted, and needed immediate fluids and supplements. The 4 was attached, each drop of fluid dripping down, maintaining a faint hope for life. The first day, it just lay motionless, eyes closed, breathing faintly as if it was about to pass out. The doctor and nurse took turns on duty, recording each vital sign. David called to check on it, his voice trembling with unceasing worry. Samuel and Jacob also came often, encouraging that there was still a chance. Time passed like a race against death, everyone watched every breath. On the second day, the lion's breathing was more even, its body no longer trembled violently. On the third day, the doctor happily reported, it could sit up, drink water and eat soft meat. David came to visit, moved to see its eyes open, its gaze weak but full of life. Samuel smiled, saying that the recovery process was progressing better than expected. Every day, it gradually stood up, walking unsteadily but stronger than before. Jacob brought more fresh meat, helping it quickly regain its strength. A week passed, its body was full of life, its eyes were brighter, its steps were more steady. David felt relieved, as if he had been relieved of a burden that had haunted him for many days. The doctors confirmed that it was ready to leave the intensive care unit. Plans were immediately put into place to move the lion into a semi-wild enclosure. The lion was moved to a semi-wild enclosure in Kruger National Park to recover naturally. It walked slowly but determinedly, its eyes shining with new life. David, Samuel, and Jacob watched, their hearts filled with indescribable happiness. The rangers said that in a few months, it would be able to return to the wild. David silently prayed that he would always remember this day, as a miracle in everyday life.